Welcome to Beware Spoilers. I am Adam. Okay, so we're gonna move Monday's episode up a little bit to Saturday, just so that way we can get a little bit of a what's it called? Push the review in, so that way people who haven't seen the movie yet can hear a review before they go to see it. I just saw A Star Is Born. I went into the movie basically blind. I saw the trailer that they showed before a few movies, which I think was like the first theatrical trailer that they, released online and put out there. This is, wow. Movie ended not how I expected, and I'm going to talk about the ending more toward the end, so that way I can, that way, it's not spoiling it. I'll tell you when to turn it off before I spoil the ending, because the ending is a little unexpected, especially what leads up to the ending. As you're getting towards it, you're not going to see it coming, or at least I didn't see it coming. It's not how I saw it happening. So the movie is about a country music singer who goes to he does a show. After the show, him being, for the majority of the movie, he's a walking country music rock star stereotype, drinking heavily, smoking, doing drugs, everything goes along being a country singer. And he goes to a bar, and he meets the girl Allie, who's Lady Gaga's character. And he then they start their relationship from there. Allie wants to make it big and become a big star, but she's always been told by anyone she's ever talked to in the music industry that she doesn't have the look to do it. If you watch the trailer, you get that much of it. So he gives her the option to come along with him to do a show, so that way he can show her that she's not just that she can perform and she can get people to like her. So she comes with him, and she goes, and they go and they perform one of her songs, and she becomes a big star. And that's basically what the entire movie is. It's them dealing with their relationship while also dealing with her newfound fame and her expanding role as a pop culture icon. Now, here's the thing that I want to point out with this movie. This movie has a lot of similar drama beats to La La Land. And what it made me realize is that La La Land, in terms of relationship drama, is more similar to High School Musical 2. And what I mean by that is, in High School Musical 2, if you haven't seen the movie, I've seen it ad nauseum, having a younger sister. High School Musical 2 has the main character, Zac Efron's character, whose name I'm forgetting, goes off and he gets a job over the summer with the rich girl, Sharpay, that's her name, at her family's country club. Because what else do you do if you're rich but you own a country club? So they go and he gets a job there. His relationship from the previous movie with Vanessa Hudgens' character, I want to say her name. No, her name is Vanessa in real life. Anyway, their relationship starts turning south because he starts making, and his relationship with his friends on the basketball team starts going south because he starts making moves to set him up as he's going into his senior year of high school for his future, where it's like he's going to meet with basketball teams and he's going collegiate basketball teams and things like that. So he starts working out scholarships and stuff like that. And all of his friends who are also on the basketball team are like, what the hell? Why are you doing that? What about us? And when you're a kid, it's like, yeah, your friends come first. But then when you rewatch the movie, if you rewatch the movie as an adult, you're like, why? No, he's in the right here. He's doing the right thing. And then even as a teenager, if you see this, you're like, no, he's doing the right thing. Because even the friends as teenagers would be like, yeah, go ahead, go do that, absolutely. Because the dream is to make it big, and that's if you're playing basketball on the level they illustrate him to be playing, that's what he's trying to do. Is get big, get a scholarship, and if he's not trying to play professionally, and at least do what that guy at Stony Brook who plays very well in the America East, but then goes on and has no real career in basketball, he's just using it to get a good education at a good school. Then you can do that. Then that makes it worth it. But the problem is, the movie, to create drama, phrases it in a way that makes the people look bad. Now, La La Land has a similar problem, where if they take time to act like adults, a lot of the relationship drama in La La Land goes away. Like, for me at least, as a rational human, when he misses her show, her one-man show, because he couldn't leave doing stuff for his band, that's a trade-off that has to be made, and she should understand that. And then at the end, she goes off to do her own thing and become a movie star without him, and it's like, you both got to make sacrifices, and there's still ways you can do this, and still ways that you can continue the relationship if you want it to continue, but then don't act like in the end of the movie that you don't want the relationship to continue just because of these issues. These are easily traversable hurdles in the event that this is what you want to do. And this movie illustrates that, because it has these same problems where she's doing her first live show and he doesn't go because he had something else, I forgot what it was, and he explains to her, like, look, I had to do this. And because they're acting like rational adults, it allows us, the viewer, to realize that because there actually is romantic chemistry between the two of them, and it's not just superficial like it is in these other movies, to the point where you can just make a good love story, where you can feel between these two characters a deep love between them, and not just something like, if you watch La La Land, it feels more like dating. This one feels like, from almost the beginning of them being together, it feels more like a marriage kind of deep love between the two of them. So that's what we have with that. There's also, I'm going to talk about the ending now, so if you want to turn it off, if my rating for the movie, definitely, absolutely go see it. There's a scene right before the end, where Bradley Cooper earns his Oscar nomination for this movie, and you'll see it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but he's definitely I think he gets an Oscar nom for that little sequence he has before the ending, and the ending is just so heartbreaking, which I'll talk about a little bit now. So if you haven't seen this movie, and you get to choose on your Sunday, on your 3-day weekend for this weekend, if you have to choose one, Venom or A Star Is Born, absolutely 100% A Star Is Born is the answer. And it has nothing to do, I want to say that because Lady Gaga does put on a good performance, but it's not a matter of, well, which is it? Is it because it's a Marvel movie, or is it because it's Lady Gaga? It's neither. It's just, this is a good movie altogether. Venom feels a little bit weird in times, and you can definitely wait for that to come out later, see it on Tuesday, see it later in the week. There are plenty of other options to see Venom. This movie is one that you want to see as soon as possible, especially over the 3-day weekend. I would highly recommend this one over Venom. That said, let's move on to the end of the movie, which I think is probably one of the high points. I don't want to say that because it sounds like I'm being a dick, but the end of the movie, I almost cried in the theater. The guy behind me did cry in the theater. So the crux of the third act is that we've now hit a climax of Jack's drinking. And because we've hit a climax of Jack's drinking, Ally gets nominated for an Oscar. She ends up going on stage when she wins. He goes up too. He's drunk. He's high. And he makes a complete ass of himself. So he ends up going to rehab. So when he goes to rehab, he gets clean. And now what are they going to do after? So Ally asks her manager, can he come with me on the tour? And he'll do his thing. The manager says, absolutely not. So she says, okay, fine. If he can't come, then cancel the tour. So then a few scenes happen. Then she goes to him and then the manager says to him, you're awful for her. You're not going to be able to, as long as you're here, you're going to be a weight on her career. So then the next scene, he's in bed. She comes in. She says, I'm canceling the European tour. They want me to put out another record. She tells them a whole thing about how it's like, it's not his fault, but, they don't want him. But, she just didn't want to go away from him for a while. Which, considering what I just said about how she's making poor decisions based on her career, she makes good decisions the entire movie based on her career, not based on him. This one doesn't seem as off, considering what happened prior to that moment. And the fact that he was in rehab and all that, her standing by her husband's not a terrible idea. So she does that. Now he was told by the manager that he's terrible and that as long as he's there, she'll be a weight on the career. So she goes off to do her last show on the tour because they canceled a bunch of dates for the thing. And the motherfucker kills himself. Like, that's not what I thought was going to happen. I thought that the way they set that scene up, where she's leaving the room and he does that thing that you see in the trailer, where it's like he says, hey, and she turns around and goes, I just want to see you one more time. I thought he was going to leave, especially considering there was the very Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2-esque monologue about the man in the sea and how he'll come into port for a few days and, he'll feel more at home, but then he'll go back out again, and how it's like he finally finds someone to make it home. So it kind of like, it feels a little bit like when Kurt Russell's talking about how he is the sailor in Brandy. So I thought that meant he was going to be the sailor. He was going to go back out and he was going to have to, leave again. And so it kind of seems like that. They kind of frame it like that, where it's like the last time he did that to her earlier in the movie, he was showing her that he was like, I don't know if I'm going to see you again. This is it. So she goes off. He cooks a steak, gives it to the dog. And then he goes out to his car and he starts the car up and he backs it out. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's leaving. And then he'll leave. He'll realize what he did was wrong and he'll come back. He backs it out of the driveway a little bit so he's not in the garage anymore. And then he goes into his glove box, pulls out a bunch of pills. I'm like, oh, no, now he's going to get drunk again and now we're going to have problems. Because one of the things the manager said is, how long is this really going to last? We both know this isn't going to be a permanent solution for you. So he goes into the, what's it called? He goes into the, he goes back into the garage with his belt, which again, because earlier in the movie he was talking about how he attempted suicide once before while he was in rehab. He was telling the story of how he attempted suicide, and he tells and he goes in and he kills himself. And that's really not where I thought the movie was going to go. But you know what? They sold it. And then the scenes after where she's talking to the brother about how it's like it's not anyone's fault but his, and it's just so heartbreaking to see these people go and they have this, have this conversation right after, and then they goes and she gives a concert. And I'm gonna be honest, in a world where a manager thought it was a bad idea to bring him along on the tour because it would make her a laughingstock, I think the manager should have been like, maybe don't play the song that he wrote as a suicide note at the memorial service, because that'll feel like, I definitely feel like if that happened in the real world, people would be like, what the hell? But yeah, it's the only movie I've ever been in that ended with a round of applause that I felt was actually earned. Like, this movie, I definitely feel is getting nominated for Best Picture, if not winning Best Picture. I don't know what other movies coming out by the end of the year. I know Steve Carell's got a really good movie coming out with Timothée Chalamet, and that one might get nominated. Plus, obligatorily, Adam McKay's got a new political movie, period piece that happened not too long ago, about Dick Cheney with all of his returning cast members from The Big Short, so that might get a nomination. But this definitely feels like it's going to, they worked and earned every bit of that nomination. And if they don't win, the movie that did win, that's gotta be an outstanding movie. Like, this movie, if this movie came out the same year as La La Land and Moonlight's out of the picture, this movie blows La La Land out of the water. If you're looking for a musical romantic movie, this movie blows it out of the water, and the ending is infinitely more heartbreaking than the ending of La La Land. Because La La Land, everyone's still breathing at the end of it, and it's just, oh darn, we couldn't have everything in our life. But this is a guy who realizes that he made a lot of really bad decisions, and then he's like, well, fuck, what am I gonna do? Like, I've already fucked it up to this point, I should just remove myself from the equation. So he does what he thinks is right in the situation, which it turns out it's not the right thing to do, and it's not an endorsable decision by anyone, but he goes and he does what he feels in his mind is the best thing to do for her. And even that is out of a deep-seated care for Allie, which which La La Land never had that. Like, the crux of the conflict in La La Land is that they both have diverging careers and they're not willing, and both of them want the other one to stop and stay in the other's shadow. This one, you get that a little bit throughout the movie where he's got a little bit of inferiority complex, actually gets bigger, but they always manage to come back to each other, and I always feel like they always manage to make up after the fight, and it feels more normal and more human for that. So if you haven't seen this movie already, absolutely 100% go see it. Nothing would make me happier than to see this movie open number one, especially against a big budget superhero movie. But this movie is so good. If based on the screenings I went to, between this and Venom, this screening was on was on the same size screen and was more packed, and it's the middle of the day on a Saturday. I went Thursday night on preview night for Venom. Venom was not quite as crowded, and they were giving away free shit with the movie too. So maybe this movie wins out the weekend, and if it doesn't, it absolutely 100% should. So go see this movie if you haven't already. And with that, we're going to end off for the episode of Beware of Spoilers. We'll be back. I think our next episode, I don't know what the next episode is. I know I have a ticket reserved for either First Man or Bad Times at El Royale. Those are both toward the end of the week, but I need to have an earlier episode for Wednesday. I'll figure it out as the time comes. But definitely, go see this movie if you haven't already. And with that, we will end for this week.